guys, M-Tech Guy here. Now I've got a nice little easy job to take care of, an E60 M5 today. So we're going to be taking a look at the bonnet liner, the hood insulation, whatever you want to call it. Now if your E60 M5 or your BMW E60 for that matter still has the original bonnet liner, it's more than likely that it's going to be ready for replacement. And why is that? Because they seem to shrink over time on these cars, especially for the E60. But when I bought this car 6 years ago, I noticed that the edges of the bonnet liner, the hood liner, weren't fully engaged. It was almost like it was slightly too small for the whole aperture, which was a bit weird. And what I've found since then is that if your bonnet insulation ever gets wet, then they do shrink. Now it's not uncommon for a car of this age. This car's 20 years old now, this M5. It's probably been through 2 or 3 car dealerships in its time, and normally what happens is when they give the car a tidy up, a part of that tidy up will be to give the engine bay a good clean. So I'll get a good soak with some detergent, and then normally it'll be hit with a water blaster, and then when it finally dries out, for some reason they do like to shrink. So it must be something to do with the type of material that it is. Then obviously that must also get affected by the heat cycles of the engine over time. I'm assuming that's what causes it to further shrink. And this is especially true with the E60 M5 because that V10 generates so much heat, and you'll have noticed that if you do own one of these cars, if you've been out on a run, you open the bonnet and there'll just be plumes of heat bellowing from the engine bay. Now then, if we take a look under the bonnet here, you can see that mine's actually removed now. It got that bad, it would no longer locate in the slots either side. It got to the stage where the 2 edges were hanging down. The whole thing looked like a flipping soggy sanitary towel or something. It looked awful. So I've removed it for now. It's been like this for a few days. You can see under here we're at the BMW factory. They've saved a bit of money on a few square feet of paint there. So not only does it look horrible, we really need that insulation in place. The main purpose that that insulation provides is not only sound deadening for the engine, because without it in place, especially with the V10, even at idle, the thing sounds like a tractor. It sounds bloody awful. It does sound cool, I do like the sound of it, but at the same time it doesn't sound like the smoothest, most quiet engine on planet Earth. It is a bloody noisy engine, especially with them Vanos units. So not only does it quieten it down, but it also just protects against all the heat that this V10 gives off, because we don't want to damage the paint on the outside of the bonnet, which over the long term could certainly happen. I've owned a number of Corvettes in the past, in my younger years, and some of them came without hood insulation, and I have seen it happen over time where it will affect the paint on the bonnet. And although them bonnets were fiberglass on the Corvettes, still same sort of scenario. So let's take a look at the new bonnet insulation that I've ordered to tidy this mess up. So it's the new bonnet insulation I recently purchased. Now I tried to get one through the BMW dealership, but unfortunately when you try and match it against the VIN number for my E60 M5, it being an early one, the part's now discontinued through BMW. Now strangely enough, just about every genuine part I've tried to get this year for the E60 M5, it being 2025 now, I've come up against this same problem. It's either discontinued or it's on a back order, and it's been on back order for a long time, for many months. I think what they do is try and wait until they've got so many orders to do another production run. This can go on for years, and this car being 20 years old now, this is something that we're coming up against, unfortunately, and it's going to happen more and more moving forwards. So what's the solution for us guys, us E60 M5 enthusiasts? What do? Do we start buying second-hand used parts and start hoarding them? Are some companies going to look at remanufacturing some of them? I don't know. But we need to come up with some kind of plan, because we need to preserve these BMW V10s. But anyhow, I did manage to get a genuine one. Now, strangely enough, this is for a M5 wagon, station wagon, an estate. It's pretty much exactly the same part, just has a different part number, which is matched against the wagons. So after a bit of digging, I managed to find this out. I ordered this through FCP because they were pretty much the only parts supplier that would ship to New Zealand at a reasonable rate. And funnily enough, I did put up a community post on my channel here just recently about me having to remove the old bonnet insulation. and one of my viewers actually commented to say he came up against the same issue, not being able to get the original part, no longer available. But after a bit of digging, he was able to find out that this one is pretty much the same part, different part number. It's just catalogued against the M5 wagon. So if you guys are looking to replace your bonnet insulation, what I'll do is I'll leave a part number in the description below, as always, to help you guys out. And that'll be for this one here, for the M5 wagon part. It's pretty much the same and it will fit. Now before we dive in to fit the new part, just out of interest, let's take a couple of measurements just to see how much the old one has shrunk in comparison to what a new one should look like, the dimensions of the new one. So we try and get it in the centre of that hook. Same at this end. So roughly looking at 1373 millimeters. I've got the old one here looking pretty disgusting. It's been sat in my backyard in the winter weather, but I've hung on to it for this exact purpose, just so we can grab a couple of measurements. So that's 1345 approximately. So that's a huge amount of shrinkage. That's roughly an inch. So that just shows you how much this has shrunk over 20 years. So it's no wonder that the little tabs at the edges there were no longer locating. And even when I bought the car 6 years ago, they were only just hanging in there. They were sort of corner to corner. The ones at top and bottom weren't fully engaged, but they were hanging on a bit better than the edges. But there you go. That's a reasonable amount of shrinkage. So a bit of a shame that I've had to remove it, so I couldn't show you guys the removal process. But I certainly couldn't leave it in place with it all dangling down at either edge like it was doing. But it's a really simple process to remove it. You've got them plastic pins holding it in place, and they just take a number 2 Phillips screwdriver. So it's literally just a plastic screw that undoes, and then what that will do as you wind the plastic screw out is it'll close up the plastic clip like that. Then you can just use a trim removal tool or a small screwdriver just to pop them out. Bearing in mind that that plastic was 20 years old on this car, so it's not unlikely that they'll break when you do that. So you might have to fish some pieces out of the holes there. Fortunately, I went careful with this and I was able to save all of the clips. So I'm going to be reusing the whole lot. But if you do need to order a new set, what I'll do is I'll leave a part number in the description just to help you guys out. And then of course, when you've got all the plastic clips out the way, then you just need to unhook it from where it's clipped in around the edges into the openings in the bonnet there. But if you still have the original bonnet insulation in place, you'll find that it's shrunk that much that most of these edges will have unclipped itself at this stage anyway, or just about. So once you get all the plastic screws out, it'll come out super easy. Right, before we get stuck in to installing the new bonnet insulation, it might be worth giving the underside of your bonnet a good clean up if it's a bit dirty. So we'll just use a bit of quick detailer to give that a spray and wipe down just to clean it up, and we don't want to bury any dirt underneath the new insulation, so it's a good opportunity just to give it a bit of a spruce up on the underside of the bonnet here. So I'll start off with, I'll go through with some Freckler diluted multi-cleaner. Just going to get the thick of the dirt off first. Not that it's that dirty, but let's do things properly, eh? Yuck, how much dirt's come off there. It's been hiding under that old hood insulation for the last 20 years. Right, so now I'll go through and just finish up with some Freckler G3 Rapid Detailer. There we go, so that's cleaned things up nicely. Now today I'm not going for a full under bonnet detail. I've barely got enough time to make this video as it is, but I've had to kind of prioritise, rearrange things to fit this in, this job, because I didn't want to leave the bonnet for too long without the insulation. Now I'm a bit worried about the paintwork. I don't want to damage it with the heat from the engine. It's probably fine, but it's not a risk I want to take. So not going for a full detail today, but that's just enough to give it a good clean up. It's just a good opportunity while the old bonnet insulation's removed. All right, enough of me yap. Let's get the new one fitted. So these are the clips, and if we take a closer look, you can see how they work. Now there's two components to it. You've got the plastic screw, takes a Phillips screwdriver, and then you've got the expandable retainer, the clip itself. So as you screw the screw in, it just expands the bit that sits in the hole and it retains it in place. And of course when you want to remove it, you just unscrew the screw and that should be enough to... And that, guys, was me dropping the plastic screw right down behind the end light, right through the engine bay, and it's probably sitting on top of the engine under tray now. Yeah, welcome to the real world. So what I did is I just went through and finished the video, so you'll probably see that one of the clips at the end of the video is missing the plastic screw. I just wanted to get the video done and I'll fish it out later on or buy a new one, whatever, it's not a big deal. So I thought I'd better mention that before somebody starts in the comment section. Alright, let's get on with the video. Relieve things there to give you enough space to slide it out. But when it comes to installing them, all you need to do is start the screw off on the first thread also. We're going to push this against the hole in the bonnet liner and then obviously into the hole at the underside of the bonnet, and then all you need to do is just push the screw into position. You don't need to screw it in, just push it in right until it sits flush with this flange here of the other piece, and then that's it, it's clipped in. So when it comes to fitting it to the underside of your bonnet, the only one thing that you really need to be conscious of is the fact that it's supposed to go this way up, so this side facing down, facing the engine, and this side has got the dimpled sections for your plastic clips there. So first, just hook it into position. So we'll do the bottom section first, just to use gravity as our friend. Just gonna hook them in gently. It is pretty soft, this stuff, so just go careful, you don't want to tear anything. And we'll do the top section. Just want to make sure that these locating pieces are pushed right in, hooked right in. I'm going to use this plastic trim removal tool just to push the corners into position without risking scratching the underside of the bonnet. And then we'll move on to the two sides. And this is what the old one looked like, but worse. Fortunately, this is large enough that it is actually going to clip in and reach where it needs to clip in. Right, so that's now somewhat held in place. So now we can just go through and install all the plastic clips. So I'm going to push the flange hard up against the new insulation and just push the screw into place. Easy as that. There we go. Now doesn't that look so much better? I just wish that I took a picture or a video of the old one. It looked ridiculous. And why this has got a different part number for a wagon and estate compared to the sedan, who knows? It's pretty much the same part. I honestly can't tell any difference when I compare it to the old one I've got. And as far as I'm aware, the bonnet's exactly the same on both cars, so I don't know what BMW is playing out there, but hey, the main thing is we've got it replaced, it fits perfectly, and it looks so much better. Rightio guys, so that's that little job taken care of. The bonnet insulation's all sorted now, all looking tidy, and hopefully that should last for another good 20 years if I'm lucky, as long as I don't get it wet. And to avoid this issue in the future, I must say to you guys, if you do send your car out to a detailer's to get sorted, it is worth removing that bonnet insulation first, especially if you're going to get your engine bay all cleaned up, and that's going to avoid getting it wet and causing it to accelerate the shrinkage over time, and then you can always refit it once you get your car back and it's all nice and dry. Now if you found the video interesting or useful, don't forget to give it a like, and make sure you go and check out the rest of my YouTube channel for more BMW E60 M5 content. Consider subscribing if that's your cup of tea. I'm M-Tech Guy, thanks a lot for watching. The last piece of the puzzle.